One of my favorite movies of all time is Rudy. Now, if you don't know what Rudy is, then maybe I'm too old. But Rudy is a powerful movie because this kid wanted to play for Notre Dame. He loved Notre Dame. His whole family were Notre Dame fans. Everything he eat, sleep, and breathe was about Notre Dame. He wanted it so bad that he actually got a chance to go to a community college, finally got into Notre Dame. But when he got there, tried to play football, dude was way too small. Puny guy, got thrown around like a rag doll. He was a janitor helping out with the team. He was a water boy. Eventually, he got on the team. And the very last game, the very last play of his career in college, he got a chance to play. It was amazing. It's a powerful story because he was never willing to give up. Today, we're going to talk about that and how it's important for us in sales to never give up. This episode is brought to you in part by mailtag.io. It's a Chrome browser extension that allows you to track and schedule your emails. It's super easy and it's helpful for anyone that's in sales. I highly recommend it. You'll receive a real-time alert whenever someone opens an email or clicks on a link. To find more information, go to mailtag.io. This episode is also brought to you in part by prospect.io, a sales automation platform that allows you to send out cold emails in a personalized manner. To find out more information about prospect.io and how it can help you automate your sales process, go to prospect.io/TSE. Again, prospect.io/TSE. Your prospecting will never, ever be the same. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have a phenomenal guest. His name is Henry Kaminski. Now, Henry is really cool because he has a powerful story tying to this Rudy idea of never giving up. And many of us have been there in sales where you just feel like it's not working, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen now or forever. But you know what? You need to persevere. You need to push through. And today, Henry's going to tell us his story. He is the founder of Unique Designz. And it's a full-service graphic design, branding, and marketing company. Today, man, I'm telling you, dude is doing pretty well with his clientele. He's going to give you some insights on that, too, and how you can push through when you get into those tough moments. Check it out. Welcome to the show, Henry.
What is going on, Donald?
Dude, I'm excited to chat with you today, man. What's going on in my life is you're dedicating the next 30 minutes to Henry.
I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you having me on the show. And we're gonna give as much value as we possibly can in the next 30 minutes.
Oh, for sure. And we want to give a big shout out to our friend Mike Saunders, who put us together, man. So big shout out to Mike and some of the great things that he's doing there. And authorized, he's an awesome coach. So doing some great things, man.
Awesome, dude.
But before we hit up all this fun stuff, we're going to talk today about refusing to give up. And everyone's like at the edge of their seat, ready and waiting to hear all about this good stuff. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yes. So I am a brand strategist and brand developer. So I help personal brands, specifically coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, those types of folks, build and develop not only their brand's identity, but their brand's messaging. So how they connect with their audience. And I have a little bit of a background in digital marketing as well. So, I infuse all of that together, plus my story, and we create a very unique user experience here at Unique Designz. So I started as a graphic designer 12 years ago as a freelancer and kept reinvesting in my business and eventually grew it to a mature boutique brand development agency. And so that's what we're working with today. Average client is typically worth either $100,000 over the course of a calendar year to $50,000 over a calendar year. And I remember not too long ago, I was working for Fiverr. And
wow.
So there is a big story behind this that, goes a long way. And so, no matter where you want to start in this story, I can promise you that your audience will be leaving here with some sort of nugget or value that they can implement and execute immediately.
Well, I feel right away that I'm just going to let you guys know you need to make sure you go back to the show notes on this one and connect with our good friend Henry here, because you're going to get a lot of great stuff. But unfortunately, we're not going to pull all this stuff because he has so much great information. So let's dive into it, man. Sales reps, myself, we've gone through it where, I'm just going to be straight up honest with you and myself. When I was selling for someone else and, doing a corporate gig, I wanted to get to the top as quick as possible. I wanted it, but sometimes you realize as soon as you got started doing it, thought it was going to be easier, that it wasn't as easy. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And I had a lot of my hiccups. What are some things you would tell people who may be in a situation like that? They want to be able to succeed. They're looking at 2019 now, start of the year. They're like, man, I'm going to kill it. Going to do way better than I did last year. However, I don't know what I don't know. I had some hiccups, had some struggles, had some setbacks. I want to do better. Yeah. How do we start off with that?
So first and foremost, Donald, that's a great question, but it's preparation, my friend. It all comes down to preparation. When I was the worst salesperson on the planet, I couldn't sell my way out of a paper bag, and now I feel like I close more doors. I close more sales like a door flapping in the wind, And so here's what I realized. You have to prepare. I follow a very specific script to this day. I've been using it now for over a year. That is tried and true and proven. I do not deviate from it. I actually practice it on a weekly basis. And, my goal is to eventually not need it anymore. And I honest to God, Donald, I really don't need it. It's more of a crutch there. And my mentor keeps telling me, when are you going to put it away? It's going to go away very, very soon because I feel more confident in the delivery. But preparing, having those questions, the people will they will perceive your value based on the questions that you ask. So if you ask stupid questions, you're going to get stupid answers and you're going to be perceived as amateur. And so as a brand strategist, as a brand developer, I want to help my clients position themselves as a subject matter expert so that when they come to the table, people are at the edge of their seats like, how do I get to work with this company? How do I get to work with this individual? And it's all about positioning. So preparing, having that script, don't come unprepared. Do your research on the client and know as much as about them before the call, because then you can really position the pain. And that's one of the things that, I did wrong as I was building my sales acumen was, one, I would just give them the answers right on the phone. I wouldn't make them work for it, And what I realized was, if you tell people what they already know, they see no value in you.
Nope.
So you have to, they call it the Columbo concept.
Yeah.
But you really got to understand, you got to know the answers to the questions, but you really have to challenge the person that you're speaking to. And so I'm from New Jersey and I am pretty rough around the edges. You can ask our friend Mike. And if you watch any of my content, you'll know that I will give it to you how it is. And so I always preface the call with, listen, and I say it just like that. Listen, I'm from New Jersey and I've been told I've been rough around the edges. And so there may be some points in the conversation where you think I may be a little aggressive or a little a little pushy. And that's not my intent at all. My intent is to help you solve a problem. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to ask you some questions you probably haven't thought about before. And so it's not about me prying. It's about getting to the root cause and getting you the results that you're looking for. So prefacing that up front, they open up, they're like an open book after that.
Yeah. I think that preparation is a key part, right? It's like it's being intentional. I think that's probably what it was. And for me as a seller, I don't think I was intentional. I wanted the money. I wanted to close deals, but I wasn't intentional because when I got home, it wasn't necessarily that I was studying and preparing for the clients. I was doing other things like going out and things like that. I wasn't intentional on what my desires were. But I want to go back to your story here because I did that purposely to talk about that first because I want to go back to, let's go back to young Henry, go back in the days here now where you were on Fiverr. What made you get that intentional or what made you decide to start your business? You refused to give up and you wrote a book all about this, but what was it that drove you to say, I'm going to start something and I'm going to make it happen?
Okay. So here's what happened. When about 2013 or so, Hurricane Sandy came through New Jersey and wiped out two of my biggest clients. Two clients alone were worth about $250,000 and I couldn't recoup that money. And I started to really panic. because I was living a lifestyle that I was accustomed to, and I did not deviate from that lifestyle, even though I lost $250,000 in revenue. And so you know how that works, Donald. If you don't make change, it's a slippery slope, and that's what happened. So not only that happening, but Fiverr came into the design world and disrupted the entire industry. And so I said, if I can't beat him, I'm going to join him. And what I realized was that wasn't a sustainable position. And so what happened was I came in and I remember getting those PayPal transactions from Fiverr after a week, after putting in 90 hours of work, I'd get like a deposit for $120, so do the math on that. What was my hourly rate? But I'll never forget this. I had a woman put in a double-sided business card design. She paid $5 and she ran me through the mud for 6 hours with revisions. I timed it. So do the math on that. Okay. And that was,
how much was that business card deal?
What's that?
How much was that, the cost of that business?
It was $5. She paid $5. Took me 6 hours.
Bro, you got paid like what? 15 cents?
30 cents an hour.
Wow.
So I said, this isn't going to work. And so that's when I said to my wife, we have to sit down. There's some issues here going on. The business isn't doing well. I need to tell you this because I need to be transparent with you. I can't hide this anymore. And I'll never forget it. She jumped off the bed. She went and grabbed the laptop. She came back to the bed. She opened it up. And as she was doing that, Donald, I'm saying to myself, are we looking for divorce attorneys here, or is she going to be helping me get my business back in place? And luckily, she opened up the laptop, looked at me and said, let's get to work. And I'll never forget that. And so, she's been with me since day one. She still carries around my first ever business card that I ever handed her. And so she's been around through the thick and thin. And so what I did was I found a mentor, Russell Brunson.
Good old Russell.
I worked with him on the spot. When I joined his program, and I'll share with you, I was listening to his podcast. I heard about his Inner Circle program. And I went to inquire. And then when I found out it was $25,000, I was like, I don't have two nickels to rub together here. How the hell am I going to do this? Well, at the time, he had a $10,000 coaching program, which I still couldn't afford because I was in the red. Right. And so I said, it's not if this works, it's when this works. And the only thing I had, Donald, was credit. That's one thing my father always told me. He's like, you got to have good credit. And so I whipped out the Amex. I put down the 10 G's and I went to work. And I'll never forget it. I got on a call at Russell. It was a 60-minute call. By the end of the call, we were both hysterical crying. And he hired me on the spot, $6,000 to help him with his first book launch.
No way.
Swear to God. And so what happened was that gave me the utmost confidence. And I get goosebumps just telling that story again, because, it was the first ever, like, biggest deal I ever made, ever biggest sale I ever made.
Yeah.
And so long story short, did that for him. A couple months later, he hit me back and he was like, hey man, we're rebranding, not rebranding, but we want to really clean up the branding for ClickFunnels. Would you and your team want to come on board and just do it all for us? And so for the next 2.5 years, I helped him and the ClickFunnels team completely, make everything about ClickFunnels consistent, because he had like 6 different designers and everything looked crazy and different. And so I said, we need to streamline this. And so I worked with him for about 2.5 years. After that, I worked on some personal projects for him, and he gave me the one piece of insight I needed back then. So he was like, Henry, you're one hell of a designer, but the problem is when I go to your fancy website, you're nowhere to be found.
I was
hiding. Yeah, I was hiding behind the logo. I was hiding behind my business. Now, meanwhile, I have this big personality, and he said, you got to put that out there, man. And so that's what I did. And ever since then, I never looked back. And so, all I do now is content create, and my team, executes everything else. Where I love to be is with working one-on-one with clients. So between content creation and working one-on-one with client, that's where I need to stay, man. That's my lane.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, Henry's going to continue to share with you some of his insights and give you some more stories. But overall, he's going to give you some ideas that can help you to push through your tough moments. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist Podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. This episode is brought to you in part by mailtag.io. And if you haven't taken up Mailtag yet on their 14-day free trial, I recommend you do it today. You can go ahead and go to our show notes or just go to mailtag.io. The plugin is amazing. It's a Chrome browser extension, and what it allows you to do is schedule out your emails. It makes it a little bit easier when you do your follow-ups. And also, I love when I type an email and I don't want to get into a conversation right now, I can set it and forget it. It will go out at a later time. And if I want to get a prospect's attention early in the morning, I can set my email for 7 a.m. in the morning. Go to mailtag.io. And when you do fall in love with it, go ahead and use promo code Donald at checkout for half off subscription for life. It's amazing. Again, mailtag.io. This episode is also brought to you in part by prospect.io. Now, prospect.io is a revolutionary platform. We use it internally when we do our sales outreach. The beautiful thing about it is that we can set campaigns. I go on LinkedIn, I find people, connect with them, able to get their email addresses, and then I send them personal outreach emails. You know how it goes, right? You are sending the prospect 3 to 5 emails before you can actually get the appointment. You don't remember to send email number 2 or 3 or 4 sometimes, and the prospect falls between the wayside. With prospect.io, it makes it so much more easier. You can set your emails, goes out when they're supposed to, and when the prospect responds, it stops. To get an exclusive free trial of prospect.io, go to prospect.io/TSE. Again, prospect.io/TSE. Your prospecting efforts will never, ever be the same. Hey, we're back. And as we dive into the second half of this episode, I want you guys to really listen to some of the things that Henry's sharing here, man. He's going to lay it all out for us. And I want you guys to be able to take this and apply it, especially as you come up on some tough time here in 2019. Let's dive back in. You bring something up there that I think it's awesome. We're going through our design rebrand for 2019 as well. My friend, the agency we're working with, good friends of ours, but she said, because for me, I was thinking, man, we need to create the corporate side, have the sales evangelist type of thing. And she was like, Donald, people listen to the podcast. Like we looked at the stream, the data. Whenever someone come to the website, they went to the podcast stuff. They wanted to see me. And she was like, you're nowhere to be found. You know, got these stock people on your website. It's like, no, you're a brother, man. And you got these, no offense, some of these white guys here is like, where are you at? Like, where are you at, man?
I feel you, dude.
But I had to put myself out there is what she was saying and make yourself available for your audience. And she was point out, like, look at Disney. I mean, Disney is a corporation, but Disney is still built around Walt. Like it was really, his personality was still there in doing that. And I think that's something that's important too, when it comes towards this idea of not, refusing to give up. Like we don't need to diminish ourselves, man. We don't need to put ourselves down because we need to put there's so many other people that can do that to us. We shouldn't be the one that do it to ourselves, and we shouldn't listen to their crap anyways, but we need to make sure we put ourselves forward. I was intimidated and I was afraid that for, look at you going into a coaching session once we know. I was more afraid. It was more of like head stuff for me, like head trash, saying that I don't feel that I look good enough on camera or look good enough to be in front, or that no one's going to want to see me. But if they come to the brand, the sales evangelist, that's going to be better. You know what I mean? And you can't have that.
No, it's going to be synonymous. Like I always tell my clients, your personal brand is just an offset of what your business is and how your business is positioned. And so if you are shy and timid, it's going to show in your culture. It's going to show in your messaging. It's going to show in all of that stuff. And so it was funny. I just got done doing a speaking engagement in Fort Lauderdale, and I gave this speech, and everybody was just blown away. I had 6'2" black dudes, giant black dudes, giving me bear hugs, like, bro, you're insane. And I was like, in a good way. And he was like, I can't believe you laid it all out there like that. And the whole room got emotional, and I brought it. And one of the women grabbed me in the elevator as I was going down to my room, and she said, well, what do you say to somebody like me who's afraid of putting themselves out there and, creating a brand around themselves? I said, it's simple, hon. What doesn't get seen doesn't get sold.
Hey to the men.
Period. And so I think by just telling her that, you could have heard a pin drop in that elevator, and I think I just changed the game for her right then and there, because she goes, okay.
Yeah. So,
and that was it. I sort of dropped the mic and walked off the elevator. And that's what it comes down to. And even in 2018, at the end of 2018, as we are now, I'm looking at the bigger brands. I'm studying the bigger brands. They're all coming out of their shells now too, because that is your X factor. The differentiating factor between you and everybody else that does exactly what you do is you. So why wouldn't you invest in your personal brand?
Yeah, you have to. It's critical. Well, here's a thought too. When it comes towards refusing to give up concept, like, tying back to this, you believed in yourself and you put your brand forward. When it came to your wife, would you say, was that the thing that gave you that extra motivation? What was it?
No. So let me go back to late 60s, early 70s, Donald. Yeah. So when my parents got married, they tried for 16 years to have a child. My mom could not get pregnant. And I don't know about you or your listeners, but I don't know if I would try anything for 16 years consistently without giving up.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. My God rest her soul, my mom used to tell her girlfriends all the story. She said, he said, Henry's my miracle baby. And she would go around and tell people how it took 16 years to have him. And as a 6-7-year-old kid, I thought she was pregnant for 16 years. So I used to say, God bless you. God bless all the women out there that have been pregnant for 16 years. But that wasn't the case. What happened was medicine wasn't what it is today. And it took them 16 years. Apparently there was issues with my father. There was issues with my mother. Finally, a doctor around 79, 78 found out what was wrong. And my mom went in for a minor surgery, came out. And for all you Catholics out there, yours truly was conceived on the day of the Immaculate Conception. So irony is, the timing is everything, right? And so as I heard that story growing up, it made me realize that these two individuals refused to give up on starting a family and creating a family. And that story has sat with me for 38 years since I've been on this planet. And it has driven me to the success that I'm at today.
So you're one of those people, you can't give up. That's what you were born in. There's no way. No matter what we put you in.
It's not my DNA, man.
Yeah. Dude, so true. It gave me some little bit of jolt there, man, just listening to that, like hearing that story. And I think about how many times that I think, well, I've done it once, I've done it twice. This is not going to work. Let me stop. I think I've left, and many of us, I think we leave so much on the court, so to speak, the court of life, or on the field of life, when we could have gotten a little bit more. My Dolphins, I don't know if you watch football, but yesterday, I don't know how that happened. It's like this miracle play with the lateral.
I'm telling you. And then look at Pittsburgh.
I
know. They choked at the last minute. I mean, how could that even happen? The guy trips.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to digress here, but
good. Yeah.
I get it, man. And what brings more drama to the story was when I turned 2, my mom was doing something in the kitchen, I believe, and I was in my crib in my room. She comes into my room and I'm blue in the face, unresponsive.
Oh, wow.
And so they rushed me to the hospital and they find out that I lost all the salt in my body. And so the doctors did whatever they did, but got me to a sustainable level. And here I am, and so I always say, I don't know what my parents were thinking. I don't know how they dealt with that experience, but how could somebody try for 16 years to have a kid, finally have a kid, 2 years later, he almost die, and everything bounces back and everything is level again. And so I always tell, my folks and my audience that, I'm here on borrowed time, so I'm going to make it the best I possibly can. And I'm going to impact as many people as I possibly can before I leave here. Mm-hmm. And that is my mission. That is my drive. That is why I do everything. And now I have a 15-month-old son that I want to leave a legacy to. And it is just he was the best thing that ever happened to me. And the funny thing was my wife and I didn't even want kids, And we got a dog first. We tried that out. It worked out fantastic. People were like, look at how you treat this dog. The dog gets treated better than some people I know. And then next thing you know, it was, it's funny, Donald. We had difficulty having him. It's funny how things, come full circle, right? My wife went through 2 rounds of IVF in order to have our son. And so I give her so much credit. And she was another one that just would give up, and even when I wanted to say, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced. I don't know if this is right. She said, we're doing this. And eventually I jumped back on the wagon because I said, there's a reason why I'm going through what we're going through. And it just made us appreciate him that much more. And again, it's just part of the story. So that's where the refuse to give up sort of mantra and mission comes from.
Wow. Dude, that's amazing, man. What advice would you give to a sales rep who's sitting back and, starting the year off right now, but it's just, still have that little bit of uncertainty or worried about the feelings that they had at the end of last year, 2018, when things didn't work out? What advice would you give to that sales rep today?
Okay. Understand that it's a numbers game, and understand that any gap in sale or any slow period or any of that. I went 3 months without closing one sale once.
Wow.
And my mentor said, and I kept looking back and I kept beating myself up. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done this. He said, Henry, do you know why a car windshield is bigger than a rear view mirror? And I said, yeah. I said, no, why? He said, because you're not going that way. And so the way he framed it for me was this: any quiet, any lull, or any setback, it's only temporary. It's like a storm passing through a town. It may look like this storm is going to decimate the town, and it might. Yeah. But it too shall pass. And so I always tell folks that are in a rut and are struggling is, know that this is for a reason. Know that it's only temporary and that it too shall pass. And that's what got me out of my sales slump. And so what happened was 30 days later, no, I shouldn't even say 30 days later. It was maybe 2 weeks after I had that last call with my mentor. I closed my first $60K deal.
$60K, my goodness.
$60K. And then within the next 60 days, I generated alone as a salesperson by myself, closing my own deals, $225,000.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. And this year, I've worked with 8 clients and made over $650,000.
Just with 8 clients?
8 clients. Last year, I worked with 48 clients and only did $478,000.
Well, I think the numbers kind of favored this year.
See, so but you know what that came from, Donald?
What's that?
A tremendous amount of confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And you know how I got all that?
How's that?
Preparation.
Everything comes back down to that. Refusing to give up and prepping. Yeah. I love it, man. Well, if folks out there want to get in touch with you, they're curious about working with you or their company, or just want to get in touch with the man, the myth, the legend, Henry, how did they go about doing so?
So you can go to my website, Unique Designz with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, or I am very active on Instagram, and you could find me there at The Brand DR. And then that's pretty much it, my friends. I have some free training on my website that you can go check out. We have my podcast, the Brand Doctor Podcast, on my website. So you can find everything right there from the website.
Well, dude, we truly appreciate this, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We'll go ahead and link back to that in the show notes. This is going to be episode number 1008, guys. So 1008, go back into the show notes and connect with Henry. Henry, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. Thanks again, man.
Donald, thanks for having me, brother.
Man, I'm telling you, the brand doctor brought it today. Henry delivered. And I'm telling you, you need to connect with him. If you haven't done so already, go back into the show notes, find his link, connect with his website, connect with him on social media. He's very personable. As you heard in the story, he will connect with you on Instagram. He loves Instagram. So go find him on Instagram. You can connect with him there. I share this with you, man, because I want to help you. I want you guys to get through these tough moments. Just like Rudy, Just like Henry, just like all of us, we have those difficult moments. We just need to find a way around it, go over it, or just blow the thing up and go past it. You can do this. Let's make 2019 your year. And one way you can do that too is to not only connect with Henry, but connect with our sponsors. The tools that I recommend, I highly, highly recommend them because I use them. Prospect.io make prospecting so much easier for us. Mailtag.io allows me to delay my emails from going out until when I want them to. I don't have to respond right now. I don't have to be acted upon. I can act when I want. I love these tools and I highly recommend you take advantage of the offers. Go back into the show notes, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1008. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1008. I share this with you because I want you to find more ideal customers. I want you to build stronger value. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you to go out each and every single day and do big things. Stay tuned for a scene from our next episode.
I grew up on a dairy farm in Idaho, and watching my parents work hard kind of set that criteria for me, like, oh, if I work hard, I can accomplish anything that I want to do. And so having that kind of background, like growing up on a dairy farm, okay, so I learned how to work hard, but now I can apply that to my design career.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show today as much as I did. And if so, I ask that you go ahead and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you enjoy fine podcasts. Our show today was produced by myself and the Sales Podcast Network. It was edited and mixed together by the one and only Mr. Jershon O'Bale. Our content writer and show note creator is Mr. Shannon Rasmussen. You can find audio credits to this and all of our episodes in the show notes. And as always, I am your host, your coach, your mentor, your guide down the sales journey, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Sales Podcast Network.